é sinônimo de vida. A vida que está no cheiro do café, no frescor da brincadeira, nas cores da natureza e até na arte. Escrever nossa história é investir no amanhã. É transformar esgoto em energia limpa. É dignidade com saneamento básico. É preservação ambiental. É o cuidado com a natureza. É inovação. A água é a essência da vida. Por isso, há 50 anos, o propósito da Sabesp é levar cada vez mais vida para todas as vidas. Sabesp, 50 anos de vidas. Governo do Estado, São Paulo, são todos.
Todos merecem viver com acesso à água limpa, esgoto tratado e um meio ambiente equilibrado. Somos mais de 5.000 profissionais trabalhando todos os dias para garantir que isso aconteça. Todos esses esforços resultam em qualidade de vida, saúde e dignidade para mais de 5 milhões de pessoas. Somos o Grupo Águas do Brasil. A vida flui melhor por aqui.
Viver é ir em frente. Exatamente como as águas. Numa correnteza de transformações que não pode parar. É a vida gerando mais vida por onde passa e onde chega. No dia que começa, na fome saciada, na sede que se mata, em cada momento que se vive. A Sanepar está completando 60 anos. Consciente da importância que tem na vida de cada um dos paranaenses. Sustentável e constante, para nunca faltar com seu maior compromisso, de que a vida deve seguir em frente. E a vida precisa ser cuidada, respeitada, preservada e vivida com qualidade. Há 60 anos, a vida com a Sanepar é melhor.
Regulation, efficient management, international cooperation, funding of the sanitation sector, environment, climate change, and water security. Keeping its tradition, Brazil Water Week brings professionals together from worldwide. We work together with with the academia and technicians in Brazil. This allows us to have important exchange of experience and also helps us understand other realities and helps us promote our best practices in Brazil. This edition of this event will be a unique opportunity for professionals, researchers, public and private professionals, students, and our society as a whole. This is a chance for you to learn more about the latest on the water and sanitation sector. We will promote the exchange of knowledge and experiences that will contribute to a more sustainable future. To start the fourth edition of Brazil Water Week, we would like to invite the General Secretariat of ABES, Marcel Costa Sanchez, President of ABES São Paulo, Luiz Pladeval, Brazil Water Week Coordinator for International Affairs and Director of ABES São Paulo, Marisa Guimarães. Also, the Deputy Coordinator for Brazil Water Week and Director of ABES São Paulo, Juliana Dutra. The President of WWC, Week Fauchon, and the President of the International Water Association, Tom Mollenkopf. President of the IWA, also the President of the Inter-American Association, José Luis Inglese, the Global Director for Water, Saroj Kumar, Senior Specialist in Water and Sanitation from the IDB, Tiago Pereira, the Coordinator of the Water Agenda and Vice President of Social Development at the Development Bank in Latin America, Franz Rojas, the Director of ANA, the National Water and Sanitation Agency, and representative of the Latin America Water Forum, Filipe Sampaio, the National Secretary for Sanitation, Leonardo Picciani, the President of the Basic Sanitation Utility, Sabesp, André Salcedo, Secretary of Environment, Infrastructure, and Logistics, Natália Resende, and also the National President of ABES, Mr. Bittencourt. Now we will stand in respect for the Brazilian anthem. Now, to officially open Brazil Water Week 2024, we will pass the floor to the Secretary General for ABES, Marcel Sanchez. Good morning, everyone. Good morning Alceu, Daniela, and welcome to another edition of Brazil Water Week. It's an honor for us to be here in our studio in São Paulo, broadcasting to Brazil and to the whole world, the fourth edition of our event. This is a very distinct opportunity for us to exchange experiences. And we have here member of ABES and also other partners in the sanitation sector. Throughout the week, we will have a very rich agenda that was prepared in a very technical, consistent manner. This will be a brilliant event, and I'm sure that you all enjoy it. I would like to thank everyone here present and all the different authorities who are here with us, joining us in this opening ceremony. Thank you for supporting our event. ABES, the Brazilian Association of Sanitary and Environmental Engineering, is playing its role of leading this sector in Brazil and also sharing our experience with the international scenario. We have been here for 4 years since the new regulatory framework that was implemented in June 2020. And since then, we have been bringing more opportunities for investments in this sector. We are working towards universal coverage and universal sanitation, access to sanitation. We see that wastewater services also have been improving, and we see a lot of different discussions around that. And with what we saw in Rio Grande do Sul, we see the importance of us having this integrated approach in our sector. So I wish you all a very good event. We will have the opportunity to discuss each one of these topics and also bring to you the state of art and success cases and international experiences that will be shared with all of you. I wish you all a very good event and a very good day. Now we would like to pass the floor to the president of ABES São Paulo, Luiz Pladeval. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Alceu, Daniela, Marcel. It's with great pleasure that I'm here with the ABES National Board. It is the second time since we created Brazil Water Week that we are holding this event in person here in São Paulo. So I would like to thank you for the trust placed upon us. We have been organizing this event since November. We started our discussion and thinking about the topics that will be discussed back in November. That's when we started structuring the panels that we would hold. We did intense work, and we had a lot of professionals here at ABES helping us create this event voluntarily. So I would like to thank the whole team that participated in that. I would also like to thank the participants in our opening panel. I would like to thank the trust of international organizations, the federal government, the government of São Paulo, and also the sponsors who have always supported us. And I also want to thank the team behind all of this. We have been working the whole weekend to set up this studio, which looks amazing here in São Paulo. And I would also like to thank the team here in São Paulo, which helped us set up this event. I would like to remind all of you that Brazil Water Week is a very unique product created by ABES. You will have 40 hours of content that can be watched live, but all of this material will be available to you for 90 days so that we can watch it. We know that it's hard for you to stop everything and watch this content for 40 hours in a row, but we just want to remind you that this material, this content will be available for another 90 days. And it's going to be very interesting. We are going to be delving into a lot of important topics in the international scenario. I would like to thank ABES International once again, and also the whole team that put everything together. Thank you, Daniela. Now we would like to pass the floor to the coordinator of Brazil Water Week, our coordinator for international Affairs at ABES. She's also the director of ABES São Paulo. Marisa Guimarães, the floor is yours. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here participating in the opening session for Brazil Water Week 2024. This is a story that started back in 2018 when we promoted the first international event held by ABES, Real Water Week. Then with the pandemic, since 2020, we transformed this event into an online format, Brazil Water Week. The topic of Brazil Water Week this year is water and sanitation for sustainable development. We will have 19 sessions that have been grouped together around 8 major themes. The first one is going to talk about universal access and social inclusion. We will have discussions about sanitation in vulnerable areas. We will talk about funding models and rural funding. We will also talk about wastewater treatment. We'll talk about expansion, optimization, and advanced technologies for wastewater treatment. We'll also talk about nature-based solutions and the circular economy. We'll talk about water and, of course, solid waste and how to deal with that. We will also be discussing regulation. We will discuss social regulation and also the transition of models, going from a discretionary model to a contract-based model. This is a very current discussion here in Brazil, and we also want to learn from international experience about this topic. On efficient management, we will have discussions about technological integration to mitigate losses and also innovation in the area of operational efficiency. The international cooperation will play a very relevant role in our event today. And we will be discussing the international agenda of the water sector and how ABES can integrate with other international organizations in these discussions. We will also talk about funding in the sanitation and wastewater sector. We will have discussions about how to leverage resources for innovation and resilience in the sector. And last but not least, we will talk about climate change and water security. This, of course, is a very important topic, especially given what we are witnessing today. We are going to talk about different systems for us to deal with critical events. We will have many different participants, very important speakers, and also important organizations. Our program for this event is the result of our teamwork and also cooperation with many different institutions. For each topic, we instituted a working group, and we will be discussing a lot of different topics. And this working group was responsible for deciding the discussions that we would have here. They were also responsible for defining titles of our sessions and defining speakers and other key factors. So we held a lot of video conferences to discuss this till we got to today's agenda with a lot of interesting topics, which I believe are very comprehensive. And we hope that everyone feels happy about this topic. I would like to thank all of these professionals that participated in this working group. Without them, we would not be able to reach who coordinated this whole process with me. In addition to the sessions that I mentioned, we will have the Brazil Week Connection, which will be a talk show with the presentation of videos and recorded content from international and national institutions. And this content will be discussed in the studio by our ABES colleagues. I really hope that we have a very productive and interesting week, and I hope that we can contribute to help us find solutions to diverse coverage in our country. Thank you, Marisa. Now we would like to pass the floor to the Deputy Coordinator of Brazil Water Week and Director of ABES São Paulo, Juliana Dutra. Good morning, everyone. I'm very proud to be here after the joint work that we've held over the past few months. I would like to thank Alceu for his trust and also Marisa for the partnership that we've built together. I would also like to thank the coordinators of each theme and also the different groups that prepared the sessions that are going to be part of our event. We have many different challenges around new regulations and new technologies and the growing demands from our customers. In this context, the themes that we selected are not mere topics for discussions. They are fundamental pillars for the transformation that ABES, a very important institution in our sector, seeks to support sanitation in our country. The integrated approach of these systems is our proposal to align our sanitation strategies with the best global practices. We are here to build a future in which everyone has access to sanitation in a sustainable and safe way. We want to promote the welfare and social well-being. And I would like to thank you all for your presence here and also wish you all very productive and inspiring discussions throughout this event. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we will pass the floor to the president of the World Water Federation.
Brazilian friends, it's a pleasure and an honor to speak to you today. Of course, I would like to be with you to greet so many friends and I have met over the last few years. Brazil is a great nation in its history, in its geography, and above all, in its people. And at the World Water Council, we are proud to have been working with you for so many years. Everyone remembers the extraordinary AIDS World Water Forum, which you organized in 2018 in Brasilia. It was a great moment of exchange, of sharing, of making proposals developed by the great water family under the leadership of my friend Benedito Braga, then president of our council. And I would like to greet him for his action and leadership in establishing such a strong link between Brazil and the rest of the water world. Dear friends, as I had the opportunity to say in Indonesia, during the 10th World Water Forum, which was held just a few days ago, we have been living for several months in a world full of potential, but at the same time full of difficulties. This world is difficult to live in. 4 billion of people who are the victims of the crisis affecting our planet. Water is no exception to this crisis. Health, food, energy, and others. Water, our water, is weakened by this crisis. And Brazil, like so many other countries, is not escaping this situation. You know this far better than I do. We need to face our responsibility. We have a huge responsibility. We have wasted and plundered much of the water that was given to us. And today, the climate and its unforeseen disruptions, the global population growth, rising standards of living, and uncontrolled urbanization are all reducing access to water and leading to a disastrous pollution. We have to face it up. And you, dear friends of ABES, are responding. But this is not enough. because we need to multiply our forces and increase our capacities tenfold. Ensuring collective and individual water security is an ongoing priority, as ABES has done by making it one of its top priorities. We need to go further by working on good demand management of water systems. This is not a choice between private and public management. It's a real model to be established between good and bad management. And to achieve it, we need to take advantage of the digital developments that are enabling so much innovations. Innovation is one of the three pillars of the solidity of the water house. The three pillars are innovation, governance, and finance. We know that you share this vision. And in addition, dear Brazilian water friends, better management will only have an impact if we can convince people that water resources must be managed with care and sobriety. This is also our responsibility, as there is an absolute priority to be given to sanitation and management of wastewaters. In cities, of course, but also in rural areas, because urban growth should no longer be seen as inevitable. But beyond that, we all have to work together to convince that water is politics, to convince everyone, and more particularly political decision makers and media. Thanks to your action, no one in Brazil, and indeed in the whole of Latin America, will ignore water any longer. Water is an essential element of law, prosperity, and therefore peace. In this sense, the initiative taken by various states and organizations to create a Latin America Water Council for your continent is a strong sign that is in line with the Brazil Water Week that you are organizing. Latin America deserves a Latin American Water Council, which I hope will be in permanent dialogue with the World Water Council. Thank you for what you are going to do in this direction, and a very good and successful Brazil Water Week to you all. Thank you.
Now we would like to pass the floor IWA, International Water Association, Tom Mollenkopf.
Senhor Alceo Guerrios Bittencourt, Presidente Nacional da ABES, prezados amigos e colegas.
Dear friends and colleagues, dear National President,
dear water sector friends and colleagues, when we talk about global water developments and challenges, we cannot avoid discussing Brazil. Brazil has the potential to be a key player in the water and environmental debate and cooperation both in Latin America and globally. Brazil possesses the world's largest freshwater reserves, accounting for approximately 12% of the global supply, including the Guarani Aquifer, one of the largest groundwater systems in the world. In addition, Brazil is one of the world's largest producers of clean energy. Over 80% of the country's electricity comes from hydropower, and there have been significant investments in wind and solar power. As a result, Brazil's electricity sector boasts one of the lowest carbon intensities in the world. Nevertheless, Brazil faces significant water-related challenges. These include providing universal access to safe water supply and sanitation for its entire population, addressing the pollution of its watercourses, and managing the increasing frequency and intensity of droughts and floods due to climate change. As a result, this latter issue is particularly relevant given the recent severe flooding in the southern region of the country. These challenges are at the same time opportunities for the development of innovative solutions in terms of policy and regulation, governance and technology, as well as for collaboration with neighbouring countries and global organisations to share best practices and develop regional strategies for water management. Brazil's relevance in the water and environmental landscape has been historically recognised, making it the host for pivotal events that have shaped the global environment and water agenda. For example, the 1992 UN Conference on Environment and Development, Rio 92, was a landmark event that led to the widespread adoption of the Sustainable Development concept and the establishment of Agenda 21. Rio 92 was also a milestone for the water sector, as it was from that moment that the integrated water management approach gained traction. In 2012, the Rio Plus 20 conference was another flagship event, where the need to strengthen institutions and mechanisms to promote global governance and international cooperation for sustainable development was emphasised. The country continues to host important events up until today. The upcoming G20 Leaders Summit, to be held in November this year in Rio de Janeiro, is expected to have water security and especially its relationship with climate change as a major agenda. Additionally, COP30 will take place in Belém do Pará in November 2025, bringing the country to the centre of the climate discussion. It's no surprise then that ABES is a key partner of the International Water Association. Indeed, ABES was one of our founding national committees when IWA was formed of its two predecessor bodies in the year 2000. Since 2020, this relationship has been renewed and strengthened under the leadership of the current president, Mr. Alceu Queiroz Bittencourt. Latin America and Brazil in particular are areas of huge significance for IWA. As a global platform with members from over Nolasco, our executive director, Carla Vairamurthy, and many of our internationally recognised members to discuss important topics. Our partnership includes upcoming IWA specialist group conferences, such as small water and wastewater systems and resource-oriented sanitation, our 2026 Water Loss Conference to be held in Rio de Janeiro, and of course, the 2030 IWA World Water Congress and Exhibition to take place in Sao Paulo. The IWA's World Congress and Exhibition is the leading global event for water professionals. It focuses on and brings together a wide range of stakeholders from multiple countries. The Sao Paulo edition in 2030 will be particularly significant. By then, we will have the final assessment of all 17 SDGs and will have gained a clear perspective on what remains to be done to achieve the multiple water-related goals. By hosting this milestone event in Sao Paulo, IWA, together with ABES, will once again place Brazil at the forefront of discussions in the water sector. Obrigado pelo gentil convite para estar com vos hoje. Thank you for your kind invitation to be with you today.
Thank you. Now we would like to invite AIDIS President, the Inter-American Association and Environmental, José Luis Inglese. Good morning, and thank you everybody from ABES for this invite to be part of this opening ceremony at Brazil Water Week. Good morning. Thank you for the invite. And I'm very grateful to be part of this opening ceremony. I feel at home, to be honest. We shouldn't forget that ABES is the most important national chapter of all the 24 chapters that form the Inter-American Association and Environmental Association and Committee. And actually, our brick and mortar headquarters is actually based in São Paulo, Brazil. This shows the very important relationship and connection that there is the Brazilian Association and the Inter-American Association. These are strong and old ties, and we must remember that the oldest association in Latin America that concerns itself with sanitation and the environment, and that is ABES. ABES started its activities in Santiago, Chile, 76 years ago. The Inter-American Association headquarters based in São Paulo started in 1959. So as it was said, I am home. But I still should celebrate the presence of other institutions with whom we're working. Like Tom said, we have a very strong interrelation and more activities happening, especially with the International Water Association here in Latin America. Plus, Loïc's presence and Filipe's presence, I would say their attendance in the World Water Week and the Latin American Water Forum is very important, and all its founding members. I think that goes to show the intensification of this cooperation. Plus, we have Saroj Kumar's presence. He's been to Santiago, Chile very recently, and the World Bank, for the first time in 75 years in its existence, all of these organizations managed to organize an event at the headquarters of Sampaio to spread the current agenda by the World Bank that relates with water, safety, and climate change. We also have our bid from Franz, and we've been working very closely with Coffee Friends too. Here we have friends who together we are working together, and that defines truly what we are working, what our attempts are with ABES and Brazil Water Week and all the efforts and AIDIS and all activities. And all our organizations together are trying to fulfill the 4 final mandates by the World Conference that was hosted by the UN in New York in March 2023. The idea was to work as a network. That was the task. All issues related to water are several. There are multiple problems. There is no association. I would say there is no organization that can cover everything. Therefore, this possibility to share knowledge, experiences, best practices, and of course, influence the positive political aspects, like we have seen last week by the World Water Council. We see that this is how we can actually fulfill our task, our mandate, which is to bring a more sustainable world, especially with the Sustainable Development Goal number 6 by the UN. This is a very timely moment to comply. And by 2030, we will have the pleasure to organize the AWA Congress in São Paulo, like mentioned by Tom. And finally, I cannot be amiss to highlight 2 points, like it's been mentioned before. Next year, in Belém do Pará, we will have COP30, the International Panel about Climate Change. I would like to remind you, over 90% of all issues related with climate change are manifested with a lot of water, like we've seen regrettably here in Brazil, in Rio Grande do Sul, as well as other states of the country. And the issues include drought and floods. And we've seen other issues like this in Latin America, like Bogotá, Santiago de Chile, etc., Montevideo too. So AIDIS was named the observer of COP30 in Belém COP30, and will be present to discuss this further. Plus, I would like to invite all attendees and all stakeholders and people present at this event for the next Congress of Environmental, Sanitary and Engineering event. It will take place between November 26 and 29 in Lima, Peru. That indeed will be the continuation of the 38 congresses that we have held since 1948, that more and more brings together more people and more organizations, becoming thus the event that is the milestone for the development of our Latin America and simultaneously for Brazil, because Brazil is not just a country. I would say it's nearly a continent. So for Brazil, it's a massive opportunity to show everything it has as to sanitation and environment, and being able to share experiences and simultaneously export its technology to the entire Latin America. Once again, on behalf of Bittencourt and Sanchez and Bladeval, all engineers, I thank for the opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.
Now we'd like to pass the floor to the Global Director for Water at the World Bank, Saroj Kumar.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to thank the Association of Water Supply, Sanitation and Environment Engineers, ABES of Brazil, for inviting the World Bank to be part of the opening plenary. My respect and gratitude to the members of the ABES, the President and the office bearers, and all the distinguished guests who are participating in the opening plenary. For me, it's really a pleasure to be part of this first ever Water Week for me in Brazil, and I'm glad that I'm able to join remotely, but I look forward to visiting you sometime very, very soon, because I've heard great things about what Brazil has accomplished in the water and sanitation sector. I wanted to mention 4 points because I was asked to speak on international experiences, and in my new role, which I started in September 2022, I've been to about 20 plus countries in a year and a half. And just to really understand the water challenges in the world. So I have 4 points to mention. First, we still have billions of people without access to clean drinking water. And these are not mere statistics. These are people who actually do not have access to clean drinking water. I was in Kinshasa in the Democratic Republic of Congo 2 weeks back, and I met a woman and I asked her, "Where do you get your water from?" And she asked me, "Which water are you talking about?" For washing, I walk 1.5 kilometers to bring water. For cooking, I walk 3 kilometers. And for drinking water, I have to walk 7 kilometers to buy water. And this is a place in not very far from Kinshasa. So when you talk about billions of people not having access to clean drinking water, these are the human faces behind these statistics. And I think what we would like to see is much greater sense of urgency to really accelerate progress on water services for people around the world, especially poor and vulnerable and marginalized communities. What we are observing also is that even the progress in many countries, we find that instead of closing the gap is widening. Today in sub-Saharan Africa, we have more people without access to clean drinking water and sanitation than, let's say, we had in year 2000. Since 2000, we have close to 200 million more people without access to clean drinking water in Africa, which means that the progress that we are making in these countries is nowhere near the demand, which is because of population expansion, and of course, the investments we are making is not adequate. So the bottom line, essentially what I'm trying to say is that most of the countries are not on track to meet the water SDGs, and we really, as governments, as international community, we've got to really double down on action, implementation, focus on country level support. Because what I would really like to see is that how can we really work together at the country level and really get more support for governments to really accelerate progress on water SDGs. My second point is the role of the governments. 2 weeks back, the World Bank published a global report on the public expenditure in water sector by 114 governments in the world. This is the first ever review of public expenditure. Are the governments spending adequately, effectively, efficiently in the water sector? And the answer is no. On an average, the governments are spending less than 1.2% of their annual budget on water. They spend 7 times more on agriculture. They spend 15 times more on transport and much more in energy. And the water sector investment is, as I said, on an average 1.2%, which means that there are many countries which are not spending even 1.2%. Take the case of this country, Democratic Republic of Congo. They spend only 0.23% of their annual budget on water. How can you expect a country to show progress when you don't spend adequate amount of resources, when you don't prioritize water? What it means is that it is not a priority for the governments, and therefore you see that reflected in the budgetary allocation for the water sector, and this will have to change. We will not see progress unless water is really considered a priority. This was also a message to the World Water Forum in Bali, because we have to see governments really making it a top priority. My third point is diversifying the sector in terms of partnership. For many decades, we have always felt water sector is an area where we cannot really invite private sector. In fact, Brazil is a good model of how we can really work in a partnership where public, private, people, governments really all come together. And I think that's really what we would like to see in the water sector. We did a paper last year on scaling financing for water, which really provides a framework for partnership among countries. And I'm really hopeful that we will be able to see most models of partnership going forward through innovative financing. And a new focus of the World Bank is not lending, but leveraging. How can we use World Bank's concessional resources to help governments mobilize more private sector crowd in more private capital in the water sector is the focus. As I said, so leveraging, not lending, is where we want to go. And that brings me to my last point. So what is the World Bank Group doing about it briefly? We have a long-standing partnership with Brazil. We are very proud of our partnership we have with Brazil and in the water and sanitation sector. Globally, as part of the new evolution of the World Bank, there's a change in the World Bank's vision, which now includes ending poverty on a livable planet. And a planet is not livable without access to clean drinking water, clean energy, and clean air, which means that the water is very much for the first time part of our new vision. And therefore, we are attaching very high level of importance to helping governments really address the water security challenges around the world. This is manifested in the design of a global challenge program because my first point was many countries are facing with this challenge, which is exacerbated by climate change. And therefore, we are helping create a global platform for countries facing the same kind of challenges to come together, share experiences, but also deepen the action in the countries by working on both public and private solutions. And I fully agree with some of the speakers before. We really need to bring in technology and innovation in the sector because that is what will help us to really do more, but differently in order to see the progress. The World Bank is already the largest investor in the water sector with a more than $35 billion in our active portfolio in water, sanitation, and irrigation services. And we are currently working on through this Global Challenge program in doubling our support to the countries around the world in terms of number of people impacted by the World Bank programs, which for last year was our programs helped 30 million people last year. We hope that in the next 3 years, we will be able to double the number of people our programs will be impacting throughout the world. And I really look forward to working very closely with Brazil and all our partners who are on the call because no one organization can deal with this challenge alone. We really have to work in partnership, and I'm very keen to really continue this conversation forward. So thank you again very much, ABES, for inviting the World Bank to be part of it. And I know my colleagues will be joining various sessions of this Brazil Water Week. Thank you.
Now we would like to pass the floor to a senior expert from the Inter-American Development Bank, Tiago Pena Pereira. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to greet all of my other colleagues who are here joining me in this opening ceremony. I'm very honored to be here representing the IADB, which is the main multilateral partner with Brazil, and I'm very glad to be participating in this event. Today, the IADB invests almost $10 million in Brazil, and we have more than 12% of this amount going towards water services and $1.4 million distributed across the country, especially in the northern region. Among the results that we believe we will achieve, we have promoting access to clean water with green infrastructure, circular economy, and improving climate efficiency, improving also the operational area of services. We also want to promote the functional area of companies as well. We focus on different populations and on gender, inequality, and vulnerable communities. We also want to promote digital transformation for an effective service provision. For us to achieve these results, we work with many different partners by providing technical support and best practices. With this joint work, we have been able to achieve important results, for example, in the state of Amazonas. The IADB has been supporting Amazonas states for 20 years in fighting against climate change and also social and environmental problems. social and environmental problems in vulnerable areas in the city of Manaus and our areas. We see there very poor housing conditions and risk of floods. And also there is a lack of appropriate public services. Only 26% of the city of Manaus has proper wastewater treatment services. More than $1.2 million have been invested. We have a lot of investments coming from the IADB to invest in 3 cities in Amazonas state. We have a lot of different public works being done in this area. 345 kilometers of networks of sewers. We also have many different urban parks being built, 400 housing units also being built, and many different roads. Almost 19,000 families have been resettled as well. More than 2,100 women have been trained to work in the productive sector. More than 45,000 inhabitants in these cities have been benefited, and now we have better services for this population. There is also a better connection between these people and the city. Now they have dignified housing and safe housing for all of them. At the end, this translates into fewer illnesses, such as the dengue fever and other important illnesses. It's also important to highlight that all of that also helps us reduce climate change. We are able to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and also protect people from floods. This is the result of one of our operations. In addition, our division has technical cooperations as well that are underway in Brazil. We have more than $3 million in donations. These cooperations aim to help in the development of public policies and also strengthen different tools. We also want to promote innovation in the sector and disseminate new knowledge. We also want to support the development of new operations. In addition to investment programs, we also support production of knowledge to strengthen international cooperation. We also provide technical support in the area of water and sanitation in Brazil and Latin America as a whole. This event is very important for us because it allows us to share knowledge with different institutions and countries. It also allows us to leverage local and international partnerships to improve water governance and promote the development of public policies. This way, we will have a more inclusive, sustainable, and resilient sector. So once again, it's an honor for us to be here exchanging experiences with us. Together, we can work for a better future, respecting the environment and making lives better. Thank you. Now, we would like to pass the floor to the Vice President of Social Development at the Development Bank for Latin America, CAFE, Ms. Franz Rojas. Thank you, ABES. Thank you for the invitation to participate in this important Congress, which talks about an important essential topic. This is essential not only for healthcare, but also for the reduction of inequalities and for us to move towards inclusive social development. Water, wastewater, and basic sanitation, wastewater treatment will promote opportunities and also equality. This way, we will advance towards a more sustainable economic development. However, we are facing a more challenging environment, an environment where we have droughts, floods, growing contamination, and I would say that now we know that we are in some cities facing day zero, which might lead to more serious situations. For us to be able to move towards access for all, we need to have more innovation and more creativity to allocate our financial resources in a much more strategic way. And when we talk about innovation, we are not just talking about technologies. Of course, technologies are very important. For example, the topic of non-conventional water, which was a recurrent topic during our previous Congress as well. We know that this is very important, but we also must have nature-based solutions. These solutions will allow us to reduce floods, contamination, and will also help us deal with droughts. So that's why in CAF we support these kinds of initiatives. At CAFE, we are very happy to see that many of our initiatives and many of our different nature-based solutions are being implemented here in Brazil, together with different local governments and different states in Brazil. We are working open to this kind of technological innovation. We also understand that innovation must be financial, and that's why we are working to develop new instruments. For example, instruments such as loans, not only for the government. We are also working in some countries loaning to subnational authorities as well. And I believe that this way we will be able to diversify and advance. Likewise, we also have other instruments. So we are about to conclude a support program that was created for us to advance in the incorporation of nature-based solutions. And we are creating a strategy that so far has been applied widely for oceans, but not so much for freshwater. And we think that this is important. Governance is also an important topic. For us, it is very clear that funding and governance they are two sides of the same coin. We cannot advance in governance without funding, and we cannot not have funding without good governance. Good governance has to do with also rural management models. We learned this a lot in Brazil, and we are bringing this to other models in Brazil. So now we want to have a bottom-up governance and not just top-down governance, so that we can have better and more sustainable services. And that's why we will have a new water security strategy, which was presented in the World Water Forum in English, in Spanish, and in Portuguese. And this way, we want our partners in Brazil to learn more about this strategy in their language as well. So we are committed to increasing the investments that we have in the region. And we know that the region must advance more and better. And of course, Brazil is a great partner. We have different operations here, and I won't talk more about them. But we want to work together with local governments, state governments, and also national governments. We are celebrating Brazil's initiative of creating the World Water Council together with Filipe Sampaio. And I want to say that CAFE is here to support you in every level, national, state, and municipal levels. We believe that Brazil plays a critical role, a pivotal role in Latin America to advance towards a common objective, which is the objective of water and sanitation services for all.
Thank you. Now we'll have Anna as director And representing the Latin America Forum of Water, Filipe Sampaio.
Bom dia a todos.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
De agradecer aqui em
First
especial
and
ao meu amigo
foremost, I
Alceu
want to
pelo
thank my
convite
friend
e estar
Alceu for the
participando
invitation
aqui dessa
to
cerimônia de
speak
abertura
in this
de mais um
opening
Brasil
session
Water
of the
Week.
event.
É
One
prazer,
more
a
Brazil
pessoa de quem eu
Water Week.
cumprimento a todos os
I
presentes aqui, todas as
want
autoridades aqui que já me
also greet
antecederam e
everybody
aquelas
who's
que ainda
spoken
falarão.
before me
Então,
and the
para nós,
people
na
who
ANA, é uma
speak
grande
after
satisfação e
me.
um prazer
For us
podermos
from the
participar de
agency,
mais uma
from ANA,
edição
it's
da
such a
Brasil
pleasure
Water
to
Week
be
e trazer um pouco
present at
do
one
que a agência
more
tem
Brazil
feito
Water
nesses
Week
últimos
event
anos, nesses
and to
últimos
share
meses,
what Brazil Water
sobretudo
Week
no
has
setor
been
de
done in the
saneamento.
past months,
Além, claro, de
especially in
reforçar as
sanitation,
ações da ANA
plus
junto ao Estado do Rio Grande do Sul em
highlight
face
all
da tragédia
actions
climática
taking
que tem
that we've been taking
ocorrido
in
aí
Rio
nos
Grande do
últimos
Sul due
30
to
dias.
climate
Então,
change
primeiramente, gostaria de
actions.
ressaltar a importância do tema
So I would
água e
like to
saneamento
highlight
para o
the
desenvolvimento
importance of water
sustentável.
and sanitation
Sabemos que
for
sem água não há vida,
sustainable
mas
development,
também sem
because with no
saneamento
water
nós
there
não
is no
temos nem
life.
saúde,
And with
nem
no
dignidade
sanitation and
humana.
water, we have no
Água e
health or
saneamento
human
devem caminhar
dignity.
juntos,
Water and
devemos
sanitation
caminhar
must
juntos,
walk
mirando
together,
a nossa
must go
universalização
together,
em
always
2033. Então, com
having
esse intuito, a ANA vem, desde que
its
recebeu a atribuição de editar
globalization.
normas de referência para o setor
So
de saneamento
ANA
básico,
has now
se
guidance
empenhado
for the
para se
sector, for the
capacitar e
industry.
para oferecer à
It has been
sociedade e aos
training
reguladores
and
infranacionais de saneamento
in
subsídio
becoming more
técnico que
robust
sirvam de base
as
sólida
to
para
offer
alcançarmos
solid
o
basis and
objetivo
technical
da
advice
universalização.
so water
Então, nesse
and sanitation
sentido, já
universalization
publicamos
is
8
actually
normas de
achieved.
referência,
So
3
new
instruções normativas
regulations
e um
and
manual
guidance
orientativo
and a
de
user
resíduos sólidos
guide
urbanos.
for urban
Atualmente,
solid
estão
waste
em elaboração
management.
outras 9
Now
normas de
we're
referência
elaborating
que
new
demandam
9
muito esforço da
standards
nossa
and
equipe técnica
regulations that
para
takes a
reunir
lot
as
of
diversas
efforts from our
contribuições
technical
que
team
recebemos por meio das
to
tomadas de
include
subsídio,
all
consultas
input
públicas e
that came from
audiências
public
públicas
hearings,
também. Então, a
subsidies, and
expectativa da ANA
the
é de que,
expectation of
ainda
the
em
agency
2024,
is that in
publicarmos mais
2024 we
4
will
normas de
publish
referência
4
para o
new
setor de saneamento básico.
benchmark
Normas essas que deverão servir de base
standards
para a
for the
atuação
industry that
das
should serve
entidades
as
reguladoras
basis for
infranacionais do
regulators
saneamento.
and
Normas que terão o
all
condão de nortear a
stakeholders.
destinação dos
The
recursos
idea
públicos
is
visando
to
a
help
universalização desse serviço
public
tão
spendings
essencial para todos
so that
nós,
it can
como
actually achieve
aqueles
the
que falaram aqui que me
universalization of the
antecederam.
service. So
Normativos que
important as
buscarão
being
dar
mentioned before.
uniformidade
All
à
these
atuação
guidance
de
and the
prestadores
standards will
e
help
entidades infranacionais,
compliance,
bem como os
international
reguladores.
agents, as well as
Então, além da
regulators to be on
atuação
the
do
same page.
saneamento,
So
gostaria de chamar a
besides
atenção
sanitation, I
também,
also would like to
destacar
highlight
a
the
instalação do
importance
Conselho Latino-Americano da
of
Água no
the
último
Water
dia 21 de
Latin
maio,
American
no
Council
10º
that
Fórum
took place
Mundial
on
da
May
Água
21st
na
in the
Indonésia.
World's Forum in
Muito bem colocado
Indonesia.
pelo
As
Franz
very
Rojas da
well,
CAF, que me antecedeu agora,
Franz
pelo
Holland from
presidente
CAFI,
do
the
WWC, do
president of
World Water Council, do
WWC,
Fauchon também. Então, o
Fauchon also
Conselho
mentioned.
desenvolverá
So this
ações,
council will
projetos e
develop actions and
programas
projects
no
and
âmbito da América
programs
Latina,
in Latin
integrando as
America,
políticas públicas de boa
integrating
gestão da
public
água e da
policies and
universalização
best
do saneamento
practices
básico.
for
Então, o
water
Conselho
and
Latino-Americano
sanitation
é uma
regulation. So
iniciativa que
the
tem
Latin
sido apoiada
American
por diversas
Council is an
instituições.
initiative that is
Posso
being
aqui
supported by
mencionar
several
algumas que aqui
institutions,
estão presentes,
some
como a
present here,
Repov, a
like
ABES, a ABR-Hidro, a ABAS também, a
ABES,
Unesco, a AIDIS,
UNESCO,
do querido amigo
AIDIS,
José Luiz
of
Inglese,
our José Luis
a
Iglesia,
própria CAF aqui, que me antecedeu, o
CAFI,
BID também,
BID as
a
well,
Itaipu, Vale,
Itaipu,
Ana Peru,
Vale, Ana
Conágua, o
Peru,
INA na Argentina,
Conagua,
a ISA
Inu in
também, ao
Argentina,
Sud,
ISO,
Sabesp,
ao
aqui do meu
Sud,
querido amigo
Sabesp,
Marcel,
from my friend
OTCA,
Marcel,
IICA,
OTCA,
Veloia, dentre
ICA,
outras
Veloy,
instituições
amongst
tão
other
importantes aqui
institutions that
para
are so important for
para a
our
nossa região aqui da Latinoamérica.
region
Então, para não me delongar mais,
here in Latin
quero agradecer
America.
novamente o
I don't want to
convite
take much of your
recebido e
time. I
desejo a
thank you
todos uma
again for the
excelente
time,
semana da
for the
água no
opportunity, and I
Brasil.
wish you all a wonderful Water Week
Obrigado.
event. Thank you. Thank you. Now I would like to invite the National Secretary of Environmental, Water and Sanitation of Cities, Leonardo Picciani. Is Leonardo Picciani on the
Bom
screen?
dia,
Good
bom
morning.
dia a todos e a todas.
Good morning,
Queria
ladies and gentlemen. I would
inicialmente
like to first and
cumprimentar
foremost
querido amigo
greet
Alceu,
our dear friend
cumprimentar o
Alceu,
Marcel, Claudeval, a
Marcel,
Marisa, toda a
Samuel, Marisa,
que
the
lidera
entire
a
team
realização
who
dessa Brasil
leads
Water Week, em
Brazil
nome
Water
de
Week.
vocês,
On
saudar
behalf
todas as
of
instituições
our
internacionais,
institutions, I would
regionais,
like to
nacionais
greet all national and
participantes
international institutions who are taking
do
part in this
evento
event
e reafirmar o
and
compromisso
restate
do
our
governo
commitment,
federal com
the
o
commitment
cumprimento
from the
das
federal
nossas
government
metas
with
de
the fulfillment
universalização
of our
até
universalization targets
2033
by
e também com
2033,
uma
and also
observância
full
fundamental
observance
da
of
emergência climática
the
que
climate
vivemos em todo
emergency
o mundo
that we
e no
live all over the
Brasil
world
não
and in
é
Brazil.
diferente.
In Brazil is no
Nós
different,
temos visto,
meaning
exemplo,
we've
que
seen
ocorreu mês passado no Rio Grande do Sul e que tem mobilizado os esforços do governo federal, do
especially with
Ministério
Rio Grande do Sul,
das
that it's been a
Cidades,
lot of
o ministro
efforts,
Jader,
etc.
na última
Jader
semana, esteve por 2 dias seguidos no estado do Rio
in the
Grande do Sul,
states, in Rio Grande
acompanhando
do Sul, the
as
minister's been
ações
there in person,
emergenciais e também
with
no
all emergency
planejamento
works,
das
in the
ações
planning of all
de
actions
prevenção, bem
for
como o evento
prevention,
que
as well
tivemos
as events
recentemente
that we
em
have
anos
recently
anteriores
in
em
previous
todas as
years
regiões do
in
país,
all
como
regions of the
exemplo da
country,
seca
such
na
as the drought
Amazônia, exemplo
in
de eventos
Amazonia,
também de chuvas na região
also rain
sudeste, na
events
região
in the
nordeste
southeast and
do
northeast,
Brasil,
the
com
heavy rains in
vitimando
Brazil,
cidadãos.
making
Então,
citizens
isso tudo
victims
nos
of these
mostra
events.
a
And I
necessidade
would say all
urgente
that shows the
da universalização e
the
também
emergency
da atenção
as
às
to the
outras
universalization,
componentes do
as well as
saneamento,
to
tal
give
como
attention to
a
other
drenagem
components of
e
sanitation,
os
such as
resíduos sólidos.
draining
Então,
and
iniciativas como
solid
a
waste
Brasil
management.
Water Week,
So
onde
together
nós
with
podemos
Brazil Water
acumular
Week, I would say we
material,
can have
conhecimento, soluções
exchange of input,
de
knowledge,
inovação,
solutions, innovation,
soluções de
and
financiamento,
solutions for
soluções
funding,
técnicas são
technical
fundamentais para o
solutions,
sucesso.
all
Mas a
impressions,
agenda
more
não permitiu.
opinions,
Então
but
mas a
impressions,
agenda
more
não permitiu.
opinions.
Então
But
mais uma vez
unfortunately, I
cumprimento a
couldn't be there in
todos
person. But I greet everyone. I
em
thank
nome
everybody.
da ABES aí,
And on
a
behalf of
organizadora do
ABES,
evento,
I want to thank ABES
parabenizar a
on
ABES São
behalf of
Paulo na pessoa do
Sabesp and
Claudeval e toda a equipe
congratulate
por
Pandeval and the
serem
entire
os
team
anfitriões, né, dessa semana
for
tão rica
hosting
em debates técnicos,
such a
que é algo
rich
que a gente
week,
precisa bastante no
because
setor do
this
saneamento.
technical
Já estamos fazendo,
debate
mas
we
precisamos
need to
intensificar
we
cada
need
vez mais
more and
esse
more.
processo.
This needs to be
Cumprimentar
intensified.
os
This
colegas
type of technical
de painel de
debate.
abertura,
All
organismos
opening panel
multilaterais,
colleagues,
as
multilateral
associações
organisms, and
internacionais e locais,
international associations,
autoridades, né, do governo
local
federal,
associations.
do
We have
governo
authorities
estadual.
from the federal and state
Obrigado aí
government.
pela
So thank you
parceria
very
de
much
sempre.
for the partnership, for the
E
presence.
acho que, em linha com o que todos falaram, né, eu
Now,
acho que o
I am
saneamento
very
ele
well aligned
vem
with everything that's
ganhando, né,
being
e
said,
ocupando
because
espaço cada vez
sanitation and
mais
water is
de
getting more and
centralidade
more
no
space.
debate.
It's becoming center space
Inicialmente, né,
in
e aí
public
isso veio na
debate.
esteira da aprovação do
Recently,
novo Marco do
and we
Saneamento em
see this
2020,
way
uma
in
evolução da
2020 with the
regulação, né,
new
da lei que
legal
foi aprovada
framework
em
approval, meaning a
2007,
new bill
com
for
alguns
sanitation and
aprimoramentos,
water
em
with
especial
2017.
com
It's
marcos
actually,
temporais
it started in
melhores
2017
definidos,
and moved on to 2020,
e
but
acabou se somando
and it's been enhanced and improved.
às
But
questões climáticas que
basically,
já vinham se
it added
avolumando,
to
né, e
climate
trazendo um debate
changes
global acerca do tema,
topics and discussion, and it's
e
become a
as coisas
global
acabaram
discussion now.
convergindo, né, porque
And we see now a convergence of climate change and
é
sanitation and
muito
water,
natural, né,
because it is very
que a gente
natural, I
convirja
would
uma coisa
say,
para outra, porque a
that
água
we
é o
see
principal
the
meio
two
que se
topics
manifestam as mudanças
connected, because
climáticas,
water
seja
is
por
one of the main topics when it comes to climate
excesso,
change
né,
discussions, due to
a chuva que a
excess
gente tem
of
observado
water,
aí,
like
né, no
floods
Rio Grande do
and
Sul,
excess
e aí
rain, like we've
agradecer,
seen in the
aproveitar
southern state in São
o
Paulo.
momento para
By the
agradecer e
way, I want to
parabenizar
thank and
todas as equipes
congratulate
que estão lá, né, em
all teams who
especial
are
o
there
time
in
da
present,
Sabesp, são quase
special
60 pessoas
Sabesp.
mobilizadas lá para
Sabesp is
recuperar
60 has six
os
people there
sistemas,
to
drenar
work in
a
the
água com as bombas
systems to
que foram
drain
utilizadas na
water with the
Cantareira,
pumps that
parabenizar
were
a Ana
used in
e ao governo
Cantareira. By the
federal
way,
também pela
Anna,
mobilização
Federal
na coordenação das ações e o governo do estado de São Paulo, na pessoa do
São Paulo
governador,
State,
né, na
the
tempestividade, na
government
mobilização
of the São
de
Paulo
toda a estrutura
State
disponível
to
no governo de São
mobilize
Paulo
and bring input and materials and personnel and include Sabesp in this joint effort and initiative to help the southern states. So going back, I would say sanitation plus climate change issues are now working in our favor as to bring sanitation to the debate, to the forefront of our debate. And I would say that in order to universalize water and sanitation services, I would say, like we all know, it takes a lot of capital. Investment is at the tune of 700 billion real to be applied in the sector. Maybe it can get to a trillion real, so we can universalize drinking water and sanitation services. When we think of sanitation in more ample manner, such as draining and solid waste management, I would say the capital mobilization and attention traction is more at its early stage. But to really reach universalization, we need sustainable cities. We need to have climate resilience. We need good transport systems for everyday workings of systems, meaning resilience to climate change impacts, and that includes several. We also need to mobilize private and public capital. I've been insisting on this point every time I get an opportunity to speak. I would say the solution for sanitation in Brazil is not public nor private, but a combination, meaning everything that is possible to structure and mobilize so we can deliver to the population quality, dignified service that includes socio-economical inclusion and development, because that's what sanitation enables. And to mobilize capital, I would like to thank all multilateral partners, the World Bank, Inter-American Bank of Development, and Latin American Development Bank, and CAFI, for bringing not only capital support, but also technical support for the sector. And last but not least, to thank Anna's role and all regulators' role. We need a stable regulatory environment that helps capital traction. So again, thank you, and I wish everybody a wonderful Water Week. I thank again for all organizers for the invite, and I wish you all a good week. Enjoy the talks. If you don't get to see that live, the information will be all the talks will be available in the platform. Thank you. Now we would like to invite the Infrastructure, Logistics and Environment Secretary, Natália Resende. Good morning, everybody. It's such a pleasure to join you. First and foremost, I would like to thank everybody, Alceu, Marcelo, Luiz. For me, it's a major satisfaction to be at such an important event. And also, I would like to thank all authorities and everybody involved in this opening roundtable. We're very happy to speak of a topic that is so important for the state of São Paulo, for Brazil, and the world, especially due to the experiences we're currently living. And in the state of São Paulo, we have a major concern as to look and a lot of care to do structural programs, to put together, to have an integrated outlook. It is important to highlight. We need to look at water basins. We need to look and understand sanitation and water thoroughly and understand what that means for resilience, for adaptation. The state of São Paulo, we have a climate strategy that is very much based in two axes. One is mitigation, and the other is adaptation and resilience. Thus, based on this, we've been doing short, mid-term, and long-term actions. If we look at sanitation in special, water, sewage treatment, by looking the all 645 municipalities in the state of São Paulo, we have two major programs. One, to privatize Sabesp, and here we're speaking the reduction of the state participation, so we are quicker, so we have better management, and so we can actually universalize. With all the challenges that we have by 2020, one of the And one of the points mentioned is, as for universalization, we see states that are not operated by Sabesp. How can we have in clusters in a robust manner, regional manner, and why not see drainage as part of this project? This is something that we have put forth as an idea. So let's see how that unfolds with constant dialogue with policymakers, with municipalities to see how ANA regulation, and we also thank ANA's presence, their joint effort to look at sanitation in its 4 pillars. And we shouldn't be amiss of the fourth, but we usually don't talk about the fourth. On Wednesday, we will launch and talk about the one program that we've been structuring since last year to regionalize solid waste management, especially the state point of view, as to the destination. And why do we have to do so? Because we need to look at waste as valuable assets, meaning we need to bring them to a destiny so that they're environmentally suitable, the support that we have had from all of them. And the idea is to put it all together so we can have well-framed projects, long-lasting, that look not only at tomorrow's objectives, but also thinking of structured policies. And that's what we've been trying to do since the beginning of this administration. So thank you again. Congratulations for the initiative. I wish you a wonderful event, and we're very excited to be part of an event such as this. Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, we'd like to pass the floor to the National President of ABES, Alceu Get here. I'd like to greet my colleagues here, Marisa, Juliana, and all of those who technically coordinated this event. At ABES, we are very happy to have all of our partners here in this opening session. Our associations have been working together with us quite a lot. The World Water Council, the IWA is here as well, multilateral agencies, IADB, CAF, the National Water Agency, our Secretariat for Infrastructure, our utilities company as well here in São Paulo. This number of organizations here present is very meaningful, and it has to do with the structure and history of our event, which today is consolidated as an international forum of discussion. Brazil Water Week once was Real Water Week. It became Brazil Water Week online because of the pandemic, and our technical coordinator, Carlos, whom I'd like to greet, tried to create a methodology which could foster the participation of different entities. This is not an event that is organized by ABES alone. It is organized with the participation of many different partners that are here with us. We have Marisa Guimarães, who is supported by Juliana. Together, they coordinated the construction of this very interactive event. So see that. Marisa mentioned at first that we will have a very comprehensive agenda. We will be discussing climate change, environmental issues. There are also many different sessions that are organized around these topics. And with everything that's happening, we know that this discussion should be placed at the center. The tragedy that is ongoing in the state of Rio Grande do Sul is another demonstration of that. In addition to these sessions, we will have, during our lunch break, the Brazil Water Connection. Today, we will have a talk by Thelma Kruger during our lunch break. And tomorrow we will have a special session during our lunch break, which will discuss the tragedy that's happening in Rio Grande do Sul. So I would like to invite you all to join us during these sessions as well, which will be very interesting throughout the week. In this event, we consolidate. This is a consolidation of our efforts to expand our international discussion to foster this interaction. Brazil is traditionally a more closed country, but we need to open up to our world, to international discussions. Exchanging experiences is very important. Brazil must learn about new solutions and new technologies. And I'm sure that a lot of other things, a lot of our practices also must be exported to other countries. We have a lot of applied knowledge in the water and sanitation sector. So I would say that it is our obligation to work together with other institutions. We have been working with many different organizations for a long time. We participated in the creation of the Latin American World Forum, and now we are working in partnership with the Latin American Water Council and the World Bank, and we also have an agenda with the IWA. There will be 3 events this year, one in Curitiba, and another one in Rio de Janeiro, and one more event to be held in 2030. This is an agenda that we try and approach in an integrated manner. This is actually one of the focuses of our discussion here in this Brazil Water Week. Going beyond climate and environmental issues, we are always trying to promote efficient management, funding, regulation, technology, affluent treatment. I think that this is also one of the priorities that we have when discussing circular economy. We will also talk about reclaimed water. We are going to talk about technologies for water losses, water loss management, and we will always talk about universal coverage, of course, and how we will fulfill SDG 6. In Brazil, we believe that we must place our focus on cities that are hard to reach. This is one of the focuses. Well, this is one of the things that we will be discussing here during our lunch breaks as well and during our session. So I just want to say that I am delighted to have you all here. I would like to thank our sponsors, our team, and our partners, and everyone who's worked to make this event happen. I'm sure that this will be a very productive and interesting week. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President. And I would like to thank all of those who joined us for the opening of the 4th edition of Brazil Water Week. I would also like to thank the participants who joined us online. Now we officially open this Brazil Water Week 2024. I wish you all a very good event, and we will be back soon with the BWW Connection. We will have a session talking about transformation and sustainability, new frontiers in the expansion and optimization of wastewater treatment.
E nessas águas escrevemos a nossa história. Uma história que é mais do que água, é sinônimo de vida. A vida que está no cheiro do café, no frescor da brincadeira, nas cores da natureza e até na arte. Escrever nossa história é investir no amanhã. É transformar esgoto em energia limpa. É dignidade com saneamento básico. É preservação ambiental. É o cuidado com a natureza. É inovação. A água é a essência da vida. Por isso, há 50 anos, o propósito da Sabesp é levar cada vez mais vida para todas as vidas. Sabesp, 50 anos de vidas. Governo do Estado, São Paulo, são todos.
Todos merecem viver com acesso à água limpa, esgoto tratado e um meio ambiente equilibrado. Somos mais de 5.000 profissionais trabalhando todos os dias para garantir que isso aconteça. Todos esses esforços resultam em qualidade de vida, saúde e dignidade para mais de 5 milhões de pessoas. Somos o Grupo Águas do Brasil. A vida flui melhor por aqui.
Viver é ir em frente, exatamente como as águas.